Okay, real quick, I want to apologize for the audio. My microphone was off, okay, when I first initially recorded it. I tried to re-record with the sound, but it wasn't as genuine. Okay, I'm going to post my original video. It should be absolutely fine, but may not be as crisp as what you're hearing now, okay? So I appreciate you guys. There's a deep message in this video, and you need to hear this. Take care. All right, so this is sad, guys. This is a bit sad to see. We're starting to see retail investors they're giving up. Okay, and it's unfortunate. I mean, in a bear market, as JP Morgan says, this is usually where shares return to their rightful owners. That's the wealthy and the patient, right? I mean, Reuters recently published this article saying retail investors show sign of fatigue after last year's trading frenzy. Okay, and in a previous video, about a couple of videos ago, I showed you that the institutional ownership for companies like Palantir, OPENDOOR, we're starting to see a huge soar as the price continues to decline. However, I shared with my Discord last night, this is from Bloomberg, okay, and this white line represents the retail ownership of Palantir stock. And this is proof, okay, you can see very early on there was high retail ownership of Palantir stock. And you have to remember, Palantir came public towards late 2020, so literally right at peak euphoria. And of course, when Palantir ran up to the 40s, there was such a huge frenzy. Then Palantir at one point became a meme stock, right? So it was mixed in with GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, Nokia. Palantir was amongst that mix. But ever since then, I mean, if you just take one look at the stock price, you can see it peaked at $45, and Palantir has just been on a downward spiral ever since then. And you can see it's now currently trading at 13. Wow, Palantir is now currently trading sub $14, and it's continuing to tank like the rest of the market pretty much is on a downward spiral. But what do you have in common? As the stock has been tanking, this correlates perfectly with the retail ownership, which has also been declining month after month. I mean, we did see a bit of an uptick there in retail ownership, but it's just continued to spiral. As the stock continues to get battered, retail investors continue to sell their Palantir stock on the cheap, and it's now being rotated into institutions who are like, thank you very much. They're taking your shares for cheap. There's a famous saying that we all like to quote, but again, it's one of them ones that it's easy to say, but it's difficult to live by. But we're living through it right now, okay? Warren Buffett says the stock market is a wonderful, efficient mechanism for transferring wealth from the inpatient to the patient, okay? All of these retail investors that are selling out of Palantir, they're impatient. That's how you've got to summarize them. Because if you just focus on the company, if you just focus on Palantir as a business, right, this business is growing on all metrics, okay? On all fronts, it's growing. The only thing that isn't growing is the stock price, okay? And retail investors, time and time again, just continue to prove to Wall Street their lack of patience, and they're just selling out, okay? They're selling out, and right now, I'm not sure whether we are at the end, or we're at the beginning, or at the middle. I don't know where we are, but right now, there's a huge transfer of wealth that's occurring as we speak, okay? History tells us that 5-10 years from now, as long as the companies continue to produce, they continue to execute, the stock will follow, okay? That's a fact. Nothing more, nothing less, as Benjamin Graham says. And we will look back at these prices and wonder, wow, what an absolute bargain. But again, the retail investors that have now sold at losses will be regret. They're going to be the ones that are going to regret. They may never come back to the stock market again. All of the retail investors that jumped into the stock market during the whole GameStop frenzy, it's almost poetic justice. Literally, just a year ago, we were talking about GameStop to the moon, rocket emojis, Wall Street bets. You don't hear about them anymore. Literally 1 year on, retail investors are running away from this market. They don't want anything to do with the market. And right now, we're beginning to see articles surface that retail investors are showing their fatigue. They're leaving the market. They're done, all right? And it's the retail investors that stay the course, understand the game, stay focused on the business, continue to take advantage of the cheaper stock prices, gain more ownership of these great businesses, essentially building your wealth on the way down and then growing your wealth on the recovery, because at the end of the day, this isn't going to last forever. No bear market has lasted forever. The overall trend for the stock market has pretty much been up and to the right with a few bumps along the way. And this is just another bump. I don't know how long this bump will last. But ultimately, as long as the businesses that I own continue to execute, it's only a matter of time. And I've got all the patience in the world. And that's a fact. Now, it's completely different if you've used leverage or if you've taken, positions on margin. I mean, yeah, it's a completely different story. But ultimately, if you've bought shares outright, you own a piece of the business, then you've got nothing to worry about. You only lose when you sell, okay? You only lose when you sell. Now, with that said, typically in bear markets, you get all of these bears and these pessimists coming out now, okay? This guy, Jeremy Grantham, whenever I hear about him, it's always to do with something negative, pessimistic, or just bearish. He's a perma bear, as you will call it. And he's now back on CNBC saying that the end of the bubble extravaganza is coming, calls for stocks to drop 45%. Now, what is even more fascinating is that this guy has been calling for a bubble pretty much almost every year. And eventually, you're going to get it right? Because the saying is, a broken clock is right twice a day. Look at what this guy said. Okay, so this is the same gentleman on the 11th of November in 2010. Let's quickly hear what he has to say, okay?
Is we don't like to play games with overpriced assets. And that's the world that we're in now. The Fed is driving the S&P, which is overpriced, the Standard & Poor's 500, a broad measure of the US market. It's driving it from already substantially overpriced into what I would call dangerously overpriced. This is about the boundary line. We expect on the 7-year horizon 1% only plus inflation from the US market.
I mean, he sounds like a broken record. He said on the 11th of November in 2010, he was blaming the Fed, okay, blaming the rates, right, and saying the Fed are responsible for pushing the market to these extreme levels, right? This was back in 2010. And he said he expects only 1% in the market over a 7-year time horizon. That's what he predicted, right, in 2010. Now, if you look at his mannerisms, if you look at what he's saying, he sounds very sure of himself. And this is what I say, that pessimists sound smart during the bear market. Perfect example. So he was pretty much saying, stay away, that it's over, okay, back in 2010. However, if you look at the S&P 500, so this was around about where he was pretty much saying the Fed has popped up the market. He doesn't expect much growth at all. Pretty much just being very pessimistic, very sure of himself. But look what he missed out on. 1%? Really? Really, dude? 1%? You would have missed out on all of this wealth. The pessimist that chose to listen to him missed out on all of this wealth. But the optimists who just continued to buy dollar cost average, they grew their wealth and enjoyed one of the greatest bull runs in the stock market history. So with that said, be careful, okay? We're in a bear market right now, in my opinion. Well, at least my portfolio is in a bear market. Some people are calling this a crash. Some people are calling this a correction. Regardless, all of the major indexes are in the red and deeply in the red. And of course, negative news spreads much quicker than positive news. So you're going to start to see them interview perma bears. You might start to see Peter Schiff getting some airtime, Robert Kiyosaki. All of these perma bears are going to come out and scare retail out of their positions even more. But in times like this, it's imperative that you stay objective, you stay focused on the businesses that you own, and as long as they continue to perform, then you can reward yourself with more ownership in those businesses. Now, before you go, I just want to quickly play this video from Warren Buffett. This is a video I uploaded for my Discord. It's in the channel called Before You Panic Sell. Here's what Warren Buffett advises to retail investors and how they should behave in a bear market.
You will see things you won't believe in your lifetime and securities markets. And the country will do very well over time, but you will see these huge waves. And if you can stay objective throughout that, if you can detach yourself temperamentally from the crowd, you get very rich. And you won't have to be very bright. I mean, I'm sure you are, but it doesn't take brains; it takes temperament.
So there you have it from the GOAT. Okay, he says if you can stay objective throughout the bloodshed, throughout all of the bear articles trying to scare you out of your positions, if you can detach yourself temperamentally from the crowd, Warren Buffett says it here, you will get very rich. Okay, it doesn't take brains; it takes temperament. And Peter Lynch has said many times that the most important organ in the body is not the brain, it's the stomach, okay? So with that said, if you are struggling or if you want to be part of a community where we stay focused, we stay objective, then you can join my Discord if you'd like. The Patreon link is in the description below. Come and be part of a community. I mean, pretty much the retail investors that are still in the game right now, despite the bloodshed, we're in this for the long run, okay? So there are plenty of investors within my community who are in this for the long run. They're truly long-term investors, okay? If that's not for you, then click the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date with all of my latest videos. Guys, we're going through this together. We're going to get through this together. And man, I can't wait to grow my wealth with you guys on the recovery. Okay, so take care and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.